Well, hello. I guess I have to get this done because I have to speak tonight at another meeting. So I'd rather be sleeping, but here goes the video for the 15th of August to July. Yeah. On the Verge of Tears. As I left the meeting yesterday, I felt as if I was ready to cry, even though I held back. I pondered the feelings for a good while, which continues as I meditate here this morning. The rabbi was sincere. Of that, I had no doubt. Still, he seemed to make it clear that he was not willing to discuss different perspectives. His beliefs were true, and that was the bottom line, the end of consideration. I have seen this dogmatic approach in many, if not most, clergymen and women I have met throughout my life. I probably exhibited it myself earlier in my life, at least to some degree. What makes me feel like crying is not knowing how this know-it-all attitude can be softened enough to allow the positive changes to occur on earth. Folks, it's about love, not doctrine, whether age-old or so-called new age. If we will not ever live, if we will ever live to see peace on earth, our stubbornness must give way to love one another, despite differences. For those whose God does not allow that, it may be time to get a different God, or at least a new concept of who and what we think God really is. Indeed, I wrote that blurb for the most part earlier this morning before I started out to my first church experience of the day. And here I am this afternoon, having just listened to a video by David Icke. What was the name of it? It's called Agenda 21, The Plan to Kill You. And it's something that I wish everyone that loves freedom and peace and love would take time to watch, because it is an evil agenda that has been foisted upon planet Earth, and it is totally fraudulent. It exposes so much, but there is so much resistance in our world, so much resistance in our religions, in our churches and synagogues and mosques and places of spiritual and religious discussion and propagation. So much that needs to be done, and yet we have been so brainwashed to not allow it to happen, to not think outside the box, to not see the bigger picture, to not see behind the scenes who's pulling the strings, the man behind the curtain, the entities behind the unfoldment of the evolution or the devolution of man on this planet. I still believe, as Anastasia taught, that we were created with talents, gifts, and abilities that became suppressed by these evil entities that came into this world and took it over by brainwashing, by lying, and by subverting everything that's good and turning it into its opposite. You don't need to look any further than the modern judicial system to see that everything has been turned on its head. And people that speak the truth are seen as criminals, while the actual criminals are the heroes, because it's all been inverted, it's all been collapsed in on itself. And we live in a world of distortion, not a world of reality. And I pray to God that somehow we wake up. I'm not pointing my finger. And as David Icke said so plainly, it's not about Jews or Christians or Muslims or Hindus or Buddhists or anybody of any particular religion. All of the religions have been subverted. All of them. There are no true religions. There's only a truth. By this shall all men know that you are God's children, if you love one another, which begins with loving yourself. That's how we express our love for our Creator. But we've been, as I said, subverted. The truth has been twisted, and we've bought the lie. Every one of us, to some degree or another. There are very few exceptions. Anastasia, it may be the only exception, in our era, in the modern 20th, 21st century era. She may be the only one that was never poisoned and indoctrinated into the falsehoods because of the unique way in which she grew up and developed her consciousness. Unlike the rest of us, she was not programmed. I wish I could push a button or touch a nerve or do something that would help everyone see that we can change the world. But we first have to be willing to look where we haven't been willing to look before, to look where they're trying to divert our attention. They're putting up, saying, look over here, look over here, look over here, when the problem is over there, over there, over there, behind the curtain. It's over there in the hidden aspect. And we've got to see that hidden aspect. And we've got to recognize that that hidden aspect has a corresponding part in us. We each play a part in that negativity. We each play a part in the demise of truth, the demise of peace, the demise of love. We each play a part in that affront and attack on the things that are right and good and worthy to be uplifted within us and by us, especially by us. But it has to be uplifted first within us. We have to recognize all of these aspects, diverse though they may be, and not separate ourselves and say, well, that's not me, that's not me. No, it is me. It is you. We are alike in this. We're not different. I'm not better than you. I've been in the same brainwashing conundrum that we've all been put through. I've been scapegoated and looked for scapegoats and tried to avoid and deny. And I've gone through all of the same issues that you've had to face. We all have to face that. And we need to come to grips and recognize what every religion has taught us, that the key is love. The key is not dominance or dominating another group or being right and playing one-upmanship on everybody else. That's not where the answer lies. The answer lies in humility. Because in humility, when we humble ourselves, we will be exalted. And that's a choice that we have to make, to humble ourselves and admit that we really don't have all the answers. In many respects, we know very little. And we need to start there, because truth is what ultimately sets us free. Thank you for listening. Thank you for considering what I'm sharing with you. And I ask you to please share it with others if you think it's an important message to hear. I appreciate that. And namaste.